Okay, a simple line from the show Mad Men inspired the way I think about change. It's 1960s. In an office full of white male advertising executives, often found smoking cigarettes and day drinking, a modern product, revolutionary product, is unboxed. Deodorant in a spray can. The pitch: modern deodorant for a modern man. He prefers jet travel to train travel, vodka to scotch, and he likes to get his news from the radio, not the paper. Hi, I'm Misty Durham. I am the founder of Miss Teams 365. I'm a project manager for technology, change management, and adoption. And today I want to talk to you about my own journey of embracing the future of work through the lens of innovation meeting humanity. What that Mad Men quote made me realize is that we change all the time. I'm sure none of us in this room think of spray can deodorant as modern, but at one point in time, it was. Think about how easily we transitioned from dumb phones to smartphones, from cable to streaming. Yet at work, people get prickly about change because it seems to be constant. It's a new boss, a reorg, a new tech, maybe even a merger over and over again, all at the same time. So it is understandable that people have a hard time changing processes. But in 2016, change became a lifeline for me. I was working on a project that was really stressful. But I was convinced if this project went well, I was going to get the raise that I had been working on for a really long time, which would be super helpful because my family had grown and we were saving for a new house. At the same time, I was the mom of 4 children under the age of 7. I had twin infants, a 3-nager, which for those of you without kids, that is a 3-year-old whose mission in life is to destroy you. And then my oldest, who had actually just gotten to a really fun age where he was doing things for himself that I had been doing for him for the last several years. So, highlight there. But work is stressful, life is stressful. And then one night, one of my infants couldn't breathe. He was gasping for air in a way that absolutely terrified me. We spent the next month at Children's Hospital discovering that he had a laryngeal cleft, which meant that 90% of his food was going into his lungs instead of into his tummy. And it was really difficult. It was a 6-year journey with multiple surgeries, 18 surgical procedures, in fact, weekly feeding therapy, all while trying to manage just life. And I was on many high visibility projects for a Fortune 50 company that was paying our bills, so it was kind of important that those were going well too. So work life, home life, all stressful. It doesn't matter where you work or what you do. What I can guarantee you is that life will happen. Sometimes when life happens, it's great. It's celebrations, it's vacations. And sometimes when life happens, it is really hard. It is life-changing hard. And if you're like me and you're not independently wealthy, then work still has to happen while the hard things are happening. So when life happened to me, there was a work process that had been annoying, and it became the bane of my existence. It became the thing that was going to make me melt down, and that thing was reading 100 internal emails a day because I had been with the company for a long time and was on too many email distros. It was a nightmare because somewhere in those 100 was something important. There was something that I needed to action. I didn't have time to do all of those. And Not saying that your thing is email, but I bet you have a thing, a process that you just don't like doing, that it's stressful, that it's inefficient. And so what I want to do today is inspire you to look at that process. I couldn't date my husband, do the homework, talk to the surgeons, collaborate with my colleagues, check the 100 emails. So it became my personal mission to get rid of internal email. Now, again, Fortune 50 company, 125,000 people, getting rid of internal email is no small feat. So I started with my team of 8 people. All I did was use the tools that we already had. I looked at those and said, how could I do this differently? It wasn't overnight. It took some time, but it did become the thing that took me from 8 people to training my business unit of 80 to then my organization of 500 people, and finally working to convince 125,000 people to not have internal email. I was so successful moving people to Teams, SharePoint, and Viva Engage from Microsoft that I hadn't sent an email in Outlook in 14 months when the project ended. I took a vacation for 2 weeks. I was caught up in half a day. That prior year, I'd taken a vacation, same length of time. It took me a full week to catch up from all of that email. In the span of 6 years, I went from trying to do this thing by myself to people asking me to come and speak to them to help them and their colleagues do what I had done. Because in the span of 6 years, I led dozens of digital transformation projects. While my colleagues worked 40 to 60 hours, my average work week was 30 hours. My infant had those 18 surgical procedures. I received a 10% raise on average every year when the norm was if you got a raise, it was 2 to 6%. I earned 25 awards. The pandemic happened. We moved to that new house that we'd been saving for, and I was promoted twice. These numbers are practically unheard of. So how did I do it? Effective adoption of change management centers on a few really simple things. First is understanding your why. My why was to be there for my family. I wanted less stress. I wanted to save for this new house. I wanted to get the raise. What was in it for me? What's the benefit? Well, reduce stress, real-time conversations, self-curated news feeds, and better connections with my colleagues. And guess what? My company benefited too because it was a quicker turnaround on action items, and I spent more time value adding and innovating than doing busy work. The third piece of effective change is support. Ask for it. My husband, my family, my friends, they all showed up for us in big ways. My boss, the developers that I worked with, they not only encouraged me to be there for my family, they demanded that my family come first, and they would help me innovate any way that would make that easier. I also mentored others. Give that same support. You have no idea who needs the thing that you have figured out, because I didn't expect me wanting to get rid of internal email for myself, for my own sanity, to be something that anyone else cared about. But they did. And I saw the way that it improved lives over and over again by teaching them very simple ways to modernize. And lastly, celebrate the wins. My son made it. He is thriving. And there were moments that we weren't sure that was going to happen. Sorry. I did all the things I set out to do in those 6 years. But the most important thing is that I can be proud of how I did it. I showed up for my family. I did the things. And what I will tell you is that working with people in tech, I know we innovate for ourselves last. I want to encourage you, figure out what that process is. Improve that process. Help others improve that process. Modernizing work methodologies is not just about keeping up with global shifts. It is about opportunity for both companies and for you to thrive. Remember that by embracing the future of work, we can achieve the seamless tech integration we enjoy in our personal lives. Next time you encounter that process that you want to change, figure out the why. Figure out what's in it for you. Invest in yourself and your support system. Technology's biggest strength lies in its ability to enhance both business and individual experiences simultaneously. Thank you.